Welcome to the More to Do podcast, hosted by the EAC Network and produced by the Vertigo Media Group. I thank Lisa Mirable, who is an EAC board member and the president and owner of Vertigo Media, for producing this podcast. We have a very special guest with us today, Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Rob, it's my pleasure. Great seeing you.
You too. If you live in New York City, if you're listening to this in New York City, Nassau, and Suffolk County, certainly the commissioner does not need an introduction, but certainly deserves one. I'm going to talk a little bit about the commissioner. I know I'll be a little bit embarrassed because he's a very humble man, but he became a police officer, grew up in Queens.
Yes, I did.
Police officer in 1993.
1992.
1992, I'm sorry about that.
That's all good.
It seems like you were promoted about 1,000 times from police officer to detective, eventually making chief of patrol. You tell me which order this was in. Chief of patrol, chief of detectives, and then chief of the department.
That's absolutely the steps that I was blessed with. So,
wonderful.
Yeah.
And you were the first African-American chief of the department, is that right?
Chief of detectives.
Chief of the detectives.
175-year first black chief of detectives. So that's something that I'm very proud of.
That is wonderful. And now in December of 2021, you were nominated, and in early January 2022, you became the first African-American chief police commissioner of the Suffolk County Police Department. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So it is a wonderful history, of course, of service. I always say to my kids, and I try to say it whenever I see a police officer, thank you for your service.
Very nice.
I know it's not easy, but thank you for all of your 30-plus years of service in the New York City Police Department and here in Suffolk County. So thank you. Thank you for being here. I very much appreciate that.
Thanks, Rob.
As we said, April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and there's no one better to talk to about that topic than the top cop in Suffolk County. I could read this off of your website or off of some police standard operating procedure, but in your words, Commissioner, what's the mission of the Suffolk County Police Department?
Well, there's a lot of different layers of what we're trying to do out here in Suffolk, and I've actually been extremely blessed to come out here and work with the great people of this county. But if you just take a look at the big picture, it's public safety.
Right.
How do we protect this county and make sure people feel comfortable, feel safe? That's one of the things that I prioritize when I got this position, and I want to thank the county executive for giving me this opportunity as well. But you got to make sure people feel safe, and holding people accountable and making sure we're building relationships so people feel comfortable with their local law enforcement to share information is extremely important regarding protecting people in any location, be it Suffolk County, be it New York City, be it Nassau. You have to have that partnership in order to make people feel comfortable and make people feel safe. Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it. Sometimes you ask police officers, and you see this in college books, what's the mission of the police department or what's the mission of the commissioner? And they say to arrest people, right? And you've heard that a million times. That's not your mission. No, that's not. And listen, at the end of the day, you can't arrest your way out of situations.
Right.
You have to find ways to work with different organizations and make sure that everybody is plugged into getting people help as well.
Right.
I've also been a big fan of a reentry. People that have been in the prison system and what are we doing when they get out and making sure they don't become a recidivist. So there's so many things I could talk about regarding public safety and what's our priority. But I will say this, I put a all-star team of executives around me that are working extremely hard, making sure the vision gets down to the men and women that are boots to the ground that are doing this God's work. So we're in a great place. Listen, I'm not spiking the ball in the end zone saying we've arrived, but I will say that I like what I'm seeing so far.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to say it and put it. Listen, you talked about offender reentry and formerly incarcerated people reentering into society. The EAC Network, again, this is the More to Do podcast hosted by the EAC Network. For information on the EAC Network, go to eac-network.org. You can find out information on all the programs that we have. We have over 114 programs.
Wow.
Last year in 2022, we served about 66,000 direct contacts and direct services. That number probably balloons to almost 100,000 people as we help their families and people in the community. You talked about offender reentry and people who are formerly incarcerated. That's something that we work on in New York City with our alternatives to incarceration. We're not here to talk about that because we can be here for hours. Mm-hmm. We're really here to talk about Suffolk County and your role as the police commissioner. We're going to talk about a few of the programs that the EAC Network works with the Suffolk County Police Department as a partner, but we have to address what's going on locally and nationally. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. We've seen in the news just recently a stabbing in a local school district. Mm-hmm. And of course, we've seen and felt what happened in Nashville where 3 young children passed away. Horrible. Let's take the Nashville story first. Mm-hmm. When you hear that and when you see that come across your desk, what does that make you think about as the police commissioner of Suffolk County?
How are guns getting in the wrong hands is my big question. I know that New York State, we have a great thing in place regarding our gun laws, but a lot of guns are getting up to New York through some of the southern states, through the Iron Pipeline, and their restrictions or background checks or their procedures on somebody getting access to a gun is troubling. Yeah. And somebody needs to take a closer look at what can they do better down there regarding background checks or some type of restrictions, because too many guns are going to get in the wrong hands. Yeah. And God willing, this never happens again. But unfortunately, I'm concerned that it will, and it's scary. And my prayers and my thoughts go out to the family members that lost their loved ones, lost their children. It's just a horrific incident, but we've seen it too often, and now we're getting somewhat prone to it. So we gotta take a better look at how serious is this? Yeah, is this something that our elected officials are prioritizing? And this should be a bipartisan strategy going forward to making sure that everybody understands the importance of not allowing the guns to get in the wrong people's hands.
Locally here, I think one of your police officers saved the life of a 12-year-old, right? I think the incident in the local school district, the officer responded quickly. Yep. And provided, I think you can probably tell me better, provided a tourniquet so that we saved this young person's life. Can you talk about that response and what school safety means to you and to the Suffolk County Police Department?
Well, school safety is one of the biggest things out here. You send your child to school knowing that they're at a safe haven. I will say this wasn't a child abuse case. This was a child-on-child incident where we had a 12-year-old who was able to get into the school with a knife and stab a 13-year-old. And the motive, is still being investigated. But that's alarming. Yeah. That's very, very alarming that, you send your child to school and you get that phone call that they were involved in some type of act of violence. Right. I know school districts, some districts have their thoughts on having security, be it armed, be it wanding individuals. I don't know what the best way of going about it, but I do think we need to take a close look at, school safety. Yeah. And making sure we have things in place and make sure it's universal in Suffolk County. I think that's something that we all need to get on the same page with, because nobody wants to get that phone call that they sent their child to school and they got hurt. So it's a work in progress. Right. I will say this: I've been working very diligently with the superintendents. We have what's called the SHARE program, where if something does happen in the school, we have access to their cameras. Yep. And there's a lot of different things that technology has allowed us to put in place. There's also the RAVE app, right, where you could put information into some type of application that could be put everybody else on notice, or people could be notified regarding what's going on. So these little things I think will be beneficial. Yep. But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done when it comes to school safety.
Well, we're going to go on to other topics, but you have to talk about the responding officers that responded so quickly to the school district, right? They are heroes, right?
Phenomenal job.
They're heroes every single day. Yeah. And without them, I don't know what would happen to this child. So thank you to the Suffolk County Police Department. Thank you to the officers that responded to that situation and reacted so quickly, right? They're professionals, obviously. And so I know that as a leader of the department, I know you're proud of them. But if you could just say, about that response, what happened, and from the police department's point of view, I know you can't prevent it, right? Because you can't be at every single school, you can't be at every single door, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Right. But from the police department point of view, from the commissioner's point of view, what can be done to protect these kids when they go to school?
Well, I will say this: this one here, if you ask me, was unavoidable. But the officer's response and them putting a tourniquet on the young man's legs and stopping the bleeding is remarkable. Yeah. The training that we get and the lives that we've saved and the babies we've delivered and a host of other great work from the training that they receive in the academy has helped us be one of the best police departments in the country, Rob.
That's great.
So the immediate response, getting into school, getting the victim the appropriate help is important. I also want to say that one of the things that this administration has prioritized is doing active shooter drills. Yeah. And making sure that, listen, if, unfortunately, I hope it never happens. Right. But if it does, my officers know how to respond. They know how to ask questions. They know how to get in as quickly as possible to stop the threat. We've done at least 10 active shooter drills in schools last year, and we're going to continue to do more this year, as well as tabletop exercises when it comes to having conversations with the school faculty and put some role plays in place and see what everybody's going to do and make sure people move accordingly to stop anything that may be going in the wrong direction.
It's amazing. You and I are about the same age, and I know that we never did active shooter drills when we were in elementary school. So it's a sad state of affairs that we have to talk about, but I know it's something that you have to talk about and that you have to address. And again, so I thank you for doing that. Hopefully we'll never have to talk about this again in Suffolk County. So let's talk about Suffolk County and what's happening here. We have the Child Advocacy Center, the EAC Network. Again, this is the More to Do podcast hosted by the EAC Network. For information on EAC, please go to eac-network.org, and you can learn about the 114 programs that we have. But today, we're here to talk about really child advocacy and protecting children from physical and sexual abuse that's going on, unfortunately, here in Suffolk County. The Suffolk County Child Advocacy Center at the Pat and Mary Bagnano Place for Kids in Central Islip. I have to thank Carmine and Sarah, who's one of our board members, and his family, the Bagnano family, for their financial support of the Child Advocacy Center. So the Child Advocacy Center for us is a place where we work with our partners, and our partners are the Suffolk County Police Department, is the District Attorney's Office, is Child Protective Services, the Suffolk County Sheriff's Department, to not only protect children, but also to provide services to that child and to the non-offending family members. You visited the Child Advocacy Center both in Central Islip and Riverhead. You've been a big proponent of what's happening there. And the first time that you came, you said, listen, Bob, I understand the Special Victims Unit, so I'll be your biggest advocate.
That's right.
What did you mean by that? Can you talk a little bit about your history in NYPD and how that affects how you look at the Child Advocacy Center here in Suffolk County?
So during my time frame as the chief of detectives, I oversaw the Special Victims Unit, and making sure that survivors had the appropriate resources was one of the biggest things in investigations. Yep. Putting them in a comfort zone to be able to share this horrific incident that they had to go through was something where we were able to hold people, these predators, these perpetrators, accountable by making that survivor feel comfortable and getting them the services post that incident. I was also a big advocate of holding my investigators accountable and making sure that they did the appropriate steps to try to identify who the perpetrator was. If it was a family member, making sure that we have everything sealed tight for prosecutional purposes. So what we're doing out here with our partnerships with everything from Ray Turney to Earl Toulon to yourself and all the other organizations, we're doing big things. Yeah. And it's just great to see that we have these child advocacy centers in 2 locations. Central Islip is great because that's the center of Suffolk County. Then we made sure we went out east for the eastern parts of Suffolk County. So both of those centers have a big role in what we do in investigations and special victims, making sure that we're putting those survivors in a better place. Unfortunately, if we didn't have these centers, I'm scared to even ask where would we be talking to our survivors at. Right. Like that. No, that's the thing that I have a question is what did we do 20 years ago? So, we're getting better. Yep. I wish we had more centers. Yep. But I also wish we didn't have any crimes at all when it comes to child abuse towards children. So, we have a great team in place. We have Detective Lieutenant Brian Cassidy that oversees our Special Victims Unit. He has 12 investigators that's assigned to him. We have 3 assigned to our Megan's Law team. So a lot of good work is being done, a lot of great investigations. I made sure that I prioritize whatever resources that you need, whatever the amount of detectives that you need to have, whatever training you need, you let me know. I'll make sure I get that to you.
Sure. Commissioner, you talked about having more centers, the Central Islip Center and the Riverhead Center. One thing that we're doing at the EAC Network is lobbying our state legislature and our local county officials for more funds. Mm-hmm. As you said, unfortunately, we need the CAC, right? Mm-hmm. And we need the work of the...
Well, not unfortunately. Fortunately, we have it, but could we use more is where I said unfortunately.
Right. Unfortunately, we have to have a CAC, right? You know, I wish we didn't have that a CAC. When I go lobby in the state, I say that all the time. I say to these state officials, I'm like, I wish we didn't have to have the CAC, right? Mm-hmm. But we do. Mm-hmm. So when we tell the story of Suffolk County and the CAC, these elected officials, they get it. Mm-hmm. They understand the need. So I hope to be able to deliver, more funds to both our Central Islip and Riverhead CAC. Mm-hmm. Listen, Kevin McCaffrey, our presiding officer here in Suffolk County, has been wonderful.
Great guy.
Steve Blown, the county executive, has supported the Riverhead CAC, and both sides of the aisle support it. So we're very blessed to have wonderful elected officials here in Suffolk County to work on this issue. You mentioned the detectives that are working there, and I know that they are part of the Special Victims Unit, right? Mm-hmm. And can you talk a little bit about what's the difference between and what maybe training that they get that's different than a regular detective that's working, a certain beat or a certain precinct? What is special about the Special Victims Unit?
So they have a different task than the regular detective that's assigned to a precinct. So a regular detective in we'll say the first precinct, that detective can catch anything from a robbery to a burglary to a grand larceny. Our investigators in Special Victims, the only thing they deal with is cases when it comes to either child abuse or sex crimes. Yeah. And the training that they get is far and beyond any type of training you would get in law enforcement. And it's important that they get this training, but it's also important that there's a specialty in this type of enforcement. Right. And that it's not coupled in with a detective that's catching other cases. To me, there's no worse crime than a child being a victim of a sex crime or even child abuse. Right. So I wanted to make sure that I continue the mission that they had in place. Right. With our Special Victims Unit, making sure that they only investigate these types of cases, 13 and under. Right. If it's an 18-year-old. And there's some type of affiliation between the two, they'll investigate that as well. But also, we'll take a look at a certain case that our general services may catch and say, hey, listen, this case needs to go to the special victims, the experts when it comes to sex crimes, and making sure that they know that we have the right investigators dealing with the survivor, and then making sure we use whatever technology we can, whatever evidence we can utilize to identify who that suspect is.
You made some changes, right? When you came in as commissioner, you looked at the situation and you made some changes. Can you talk a little bit about those changes?
Yeah, the changes were I wasn't happy with the general service detectives catching adult cases, adult sex crime cases. Excuse me.
Yep.
So that's one thing that I put in place. I said, listen, I want special victims to catch the adult sex crimes cases as well. They have the training. They're not being coupled in with other crimes that they may be investigated.
Right.
They can be dedicated to this investigation, and it's working out well. It really is, because they have the appropriate training, Rob.
You know, with your help and the help of Town of Riverhead Supervisor Aguiar, the county exec, and the Suffolk County Legislature, we had a re-grand opening of our Riverhead Center, and unfortunately, again, we're seeing more traffic coming into the Riverhead Center because people are reporting more. The awareness that the Riverhead Center is out there more. So, you know, I thank you for, you know, helping us promote, you know, the work out there. We are seeing an increased number of cases coming into the Riverhead Center. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between potentially what's happening in Central Islip and Riverhead? You know, it's Suffolk County, but it could be a world away, right? I mean, that's what people say. Can you talk a little bit about that difference?
Yeah, so unfortunately, you touched upon it a little bit. Sex trafficking is a big problem out here in Suffolk County. We actually have a sex trafficking unit, and they have some pretty solid investigations going on. We just did a nice takedown of a sex trafficking case, working with our federal partners over in Sayville. Some of the issues or the information that we were receiving regarding that location being involved with the trafficking. But the most important thing is we need for people to feel comfortable to come forward.
Gotcha.
You know, one of the things that we're doing is a missing persons Monday now, where we're providing missing person information out to the public, and taking that information and making sure that all eyes and ears are taking a look around and seeing if they see somebody that we are reported missing. And now what I'm going with that is some of our missing people that we're investigating are unfortunately been grabbed up into the sex trafficking world. So there's a bigger world here when it comes to sex trafficking. A lot of people have gotten away from the other types of crimes and have moved into the sex trafficking world. It's important that my investigators are identifying these enterprises and making sure we prosecute these individuals appropriately. But that's one of the things that we're seeing going further out east, out in Riverhead. It's still an issue in Central Islip as well, but you know, this is something that I'm very concerned about. But I will say this: I have the right people in the right place. I have some solid investigators that have some ongoing cases, and we should be taking some criminal groups down within the next couple of months.
That's great news. I hope you do. Again, this is the More to Do podcast. We're here with Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison, talking about April as the Child Abuse Prevention Month, right? And so a lot of the work that you do obviously deals with minors and protecting children. I think this Missing Monday program that you're talking about, I mean, obviously you have a very hands-on approach to this. I saw you at supermarkets handing out flyers, and this was about a teen that was missing, correct?
Yes, sir.
The last one?
Who we actually were able to bring back home to his family. I believe it was the next day. He was found in the Bronx. Oh, no, excuse me. He was found in Lower Manhattan. He went to the Bronx, but was found in Lower Manhattan. But just getting the word out to the community, getting the word out to our law enforcement partners, be it Nassau, be it New York City, be it whatever, I think could bring comfort to a family. And the one thing I will say, Rob, is we could do better. We could do better when it comes to missing person cases and linking them to some type of sex trafficking. So this new rollout that we're doing, identifying my community ambassadors to be part of the distribution of flyers and making sure that everybody understands this is important to me, can probably put a dent into some of the young adults that we're seeing being grabbed into the sex trafficking world.
It's crazy. You know, you just said that you can do, there's more to do. That's our saying at the EAC Network, right? This is the More to Do podcast. We know that there is more to do because the need is out there. Your mission, as you stated earlier, is to provide for public safety and protect people. Our mission at the EAC Network is to help people when they need it most.
That's right.
We have 114 programs. We help children in Suffolk County. We help parents in Suffolk County. We help seniors in Nassau County. We do vocational training throughout Suffolk, Nassau, New York City, and parts of Rockland County. We do ATI work, alternatives to incarceration, mental health, substance abuse work. We do work with veterans who are getting arrested in New York City for low-level felonies and misdemeanors. Instead of sending them off to Rikers Island, they come to the EAC Network, and we provide treatment for them. And that gets them back to work, gets them back to their families, gets them back to their communities. Our ATI work is about public safety.
Rob, I got to cut you off. What you're talking about is humongous when it comes about public safety. Public safety is not about arrest.
Right.
Public safety is getting people the assistance that they need and getting them in the right direction, getting people help.
Yep.
The biggest problem that I've seen in my 32 years of policing is we're not getting people help.
Right.
They're coming out and they have no place to go, and people are turning their back, and then they go back to life of crime again.
Right.
What you just shared with everybody is a big play, a big role in making communities safe. And I want to thank you, sir, for your partnerships and what you're doing out here and making sure you're getting people in a better place.
I appreciate you saying that. Listen, our president and CEO, Neela Lockle, our COO, Tania Peterson-Chandler, and all of our division directors, they know that there's more to do. And we know that the work that we're doing, not only in Suffolk County, but Nassau and New York City works. I'm going to give one plug about the EAC Network. In New York State, the recidivism rate is about 43%, the arrest rate within the first 2 years, right? And I think nationwide it's about 50%, depending on where you are. The people that are going through our programs at the EAC Network, it's as low as 19%. We're seeing 19%, 21%, 24% of the people going through our programs. They're getting rearrested at a much lower rate than the general public. So that's one reason that the EAC Network is here, right, to talk about those things and work on those programs. And as you said so eloquently, it's about public safety. So we really appreciate that. We're going to keep moving forward with all of these programs. For more information on the EAC Network, go to eac-network.org. We have a few more minutes. I know you're busy, so I don't want to keep you here all day long. We've talked about a lot of different programs. I need to say that the multidisciplinary team is composed of representatives from the district attorney's office, the county attorney's office, the police department, obviously Suffolk County Police Department, the Department of Social Services, Child Protective Services, mental health representatives, medical staff, our CAC personnel, including family advocates. That team gets together once a week. They review cases and they talk to your detectives, right? So not only are we providing services to the victims and their non-offending family members, but we are also helping in the prosecution. But I want to say, and you mentioned his name, District DA Tierney and his team have been wonderful to us, and we continue and hope to work with him and his team to make sure that we are protecting Suffolk County's children.
You know, Rob, before we finish up here, my experience in NYPD when I was chief of detectives, there were a group of advocates, sex crime advocates that would do something very similar, which was, make sure that they went through our cases, make sure that we did what we were supposed to do in the investigation, and make sure that we brought it to the appropriate district attorney's office in an expeditious manner, but make sure that everything was done when it comes to crossing our T's and dotting our I's so we could hold people accountable. Sounds like we're doing the same thing out here.
We are.
And going through the investigators' cases and make sure that they did what they were supposed to do. I'm a big fan of that. I think we should make sure that our investigators and their cases are taking a look at from different lenses. And make sure that, is there something that we might have left out where we can make sure that we do identify who the individual is. And when we do capture him, make sure that we're able to bring it to Ray and his people and hold these people accountable. So thank you.
Andrea Ramos-Topper is our division director, and she leads this team, and she reviews these cases. And so we can't do this work without her. So I give her a big round of applause as well, and all of her staff at the Child Advocacy Center. That leads us to the last thing that I really wanted to talk about. There's a Child Advocacy Center basketball game. Yep. And last year you attended. I think you weren't even on the job yet. Were you sworn in yet?
I was sworn in. I think it might have been like that first weekend.
Yeah.
I heard about the game, and I wanted to play. I said, well, let me not push my way into playing yet. But I still got a step, Rob. I can still make a few jump shots here and there. I can bring the ball up.
Okay.
I don't know how many minutes I could give you, but I'm looking forward to playing this game and really spreading the word.
Yep.
And that's what it is using this basketball game, this forum, to spread the great work that's being done.
Yep. So the basketball game is the Child Advocacy Center basketball tournament held on Saturday, April 8th at 12:30. Hosted by Island Garden in West Hempstead. Go to our website, EAC-network.org, to find out for more information. It's $10, right? It's really not a fundraiser. It's more an awareness issue.
Yep.
So this year, the Suffolk County PD is playing the Nassau County PD.
Pat Ryder. Pat's not going to play, by the way. He's too scared.
I heard he can't go left. Is that true?
He can't go left or right, by the way. You can tell him I said that.
And then the New York State Police is playing the Suffolk County Sheriffs. And I can't thank all of the participants enough for doing this and having the money, go to the Child Advocacy Center. Clinicians, supplemental consultants are sponsors. Fusco, Brandon Stein, and Rada law firm. Pasternak, Tilker, Ziegler, Walsh, Stanton, and Romano are also partners. So I thank all of our partners for supporting the basketball game. It's, again, Saturday, April 8th, 12:30 at the Island Garden in West Hempstead. You came to the game. You were nice enough last year. We got a microphone in you. I think 1010 or 880 covered it. And they were so happy to talk to you about not only this game, but the CAC, but sort of your role as the new leader of the police department. You talked about it just a second ago. This is really it's a serious topic, but it's a fun game.
That's right. That's right.
I went to the game and I thought that these are police officers who obviously care about their work. These guys, men and women, care about the game.
Yeah.
They want to win.
It got a little ugly. Yeah, I remember that. We were playing the state police. I know Billy Holtz was there, and the game got a little out of hand, but we were able to be victorious at the end. But these guys, these officers, when you put them on the basketball court, they take it seriously.
Yeah.
But they're also understand and appreciate the importance of the game and how we're going to support the Child Advocacy Center.
Gotcha.
And make sure we're getting the word out that this organization is here to help people.
Gotcha. Come out to Island Garden, see the commissioner play. Are you a guard? Are you a slashing guard, shooting guard? What position?
I'm a point guard.
Oh, point guard, okay.
I have a tendency of dribbling too much. So if you see me dribbling too much, just throw your shoe at me and tell me to pass the ball. But sometimes I think I'm Isaiah Thomas, so I got to make sure I give the rock up to the guys that know how to put the ball in the hoop.
Well, thank you for the time. This is the More to Do podcast hosted by the EAC Network and produced by Vertigo Media Group. I can't thank them enough. There's more to do.
Yeah.
Right? We need to protect children, not only in April, but every month. That's right. I know that's your job.
That's right.
But April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. We ask everyone on Monday, April 3rd, to wear blue. Take a picture, tag EAC Network, tag Child Advocacy Center, tag Protect Children in Suffolk County. It's a small way to show your support for all of the providers that protect children. The Suffolk County Police Department, the District Attorney's Office, the Sheriff's Department, the FBI, the Department of Justice, EAC, and the CAC Center. So Monday, April 3rd, wear blue. Tag all of those things that we just mentioned and show your support to all of the providers that are helping protect Suffolk County's children. Thank you, Commissioner Harrison, for being here, and I really appreciate your work. Keep the men and women of the Suffolk County Police Department safe.
That's right. I will. And Rob, thank you so much for having me on the show. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And the men and women are really amazing in this department, and I'm just blessed to be out here. So thank you for having me on the show.
Great. Thank you so much.